Hello, how you doing? Now, last one of Stave II today. It's only a couple of pages, and that's because this is kind of, I think, the most significant thing for Scrooge in this stave. And I always kind of look at it separately rather than at the end of kind of a lot of other stuff that we looked at in the last section. Right, so we ended with Scrooge kind of being a little bit upset about um, not being able to say a word to his clerk. So he had started seeing kind of a timeline almost of he wished he had given the carolers a bit of money. He wished he had supported his clerk a bit more, his employees, um, and that kind of pattern of his kind of regret starting to occur. We're skipping ahead to Scrooge being in the prime of his life. So he's kind of he's not a boy anymore. He's a man, probably in his early 20s, something like that, 20s, 30s maybe. But he's already starting to show the signs, look, of care and avarice. Now, avarice is kind of a desire for wealth. So he's already starting to show signs of that. There was an eager, greedy, restless motion in the eye, which showed the passion that had taken root, and where the shadow of the growing tree would fall. Yeah, think about that metaphor. The idea that his greed, his obsession with money, is this kind of tree that's going to be growing, and you can already see the kind of the roots of that, the starting point of that kind of metaphorical tree, putting a shadow over his life because of the obsession with wealth and money. Now we see an interesting character introduction here. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a morning dress. Now we've got a key quote here. "It matters little," she said softly. "To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me. And if it can cheer and comfort you in a time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve." Now, there's kind of a little bit of a conversation about that she feels like another idol has displaced me, that you've got your eye on something else now. And we can kind of guess where this is going, but Scrooge might have been thinking, "What, you think I'm cheating? What do you think's going on?" And he says, "What idol has displaced you?" And she says, "A golden one." Yeah, the money. So she has been replaced, who we can assume he's in a relationship with and is very happy with, but she has started to take second place over the business, over the money, over the wealth that Scrooge so kind of desires. And again, that kind of the idea of the metaphor of the tree surrounding everything it does, and that's what's taking over. Now he reacts quite harshly to this. "There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it possesses to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth." So he's saying, poverty is the worst thing possible, and we cannot allow this to happen, and you can't kind of condemn my wanting to be wealthy. Now here's a quote that is holistically significant. I think this one is kind of holistically symbolic of his entire character. "You fear the world too much." He's scared of everything that's going to happen. He's scared of anything that could happen. He's not willing to kind of take risks. Yeah, he doesn't want to be hurt in any way. Now we see kind of another part of Scrooge trying to reason with this. Yeah, we saw this earlier in Stave 1 where he was trying to reason with the idea of the ghost. Can you sit down? And he was kind of trying to reason with the logic of it and explain it to himself. And we're seeing that starting to occur here. Again, bear in mind we are in his past. "Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you." As in, okay, but I don't think I've changed the way I feel about you. She shook her head. And he repeats it. "Am I? Our contract is an old one." Yeah? You are changed. Again, we get that graphological suggestion from Dickens there. He's not allowing us to read it in any other way. It's not kind of "you are changed" or "you are changed." It's "you are changed." She's really trying to reiterate it to him, and Dickens is reiterating it to us again as readers because it's about us and what we take from it. It's a moral story. You need to keep remembering that. "When it was made, you were another man. Yeah, you were a different person. You are not the Scrooge that I knew. You are not the Ebenezer that I kind of I fell in love with. Now, also think about as well here. Our contract is an old one. Again, we're seeing that jargonistic business capitalist language used. That the relationship is a contract. She's wording it in ways that Scrooge will understand because that's the only way that he will understand, that he could empathize, because he's so obsessed with money, because he fears the world too much. So further down on to 41, a changed nature, as in this is natural to him. Yeah, we've seen kind of a pattern of the description of Scrooge involving the idea of an unconscious reaction to something that is kind of innate within him to act in a certain way. Now, there's kind of a bit of an interesting dramatic irony here, an altered spirit as well, as if his soul has changed as well, which we know as an audience it has. When he looked out the window and he saw all those kind of people that he knew, their souls were kind of torturous, and there's kind of the implication that he wasn't even aware that this was happening. She says here, looking mildly but with steadiness upon him. So she's not kind of feeling feisty, but she's steady and controlled. She knows what she wants to say, and she's going to say it. Tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? So if we hadn't met, the person you are now, would you have kind of tried to seek me out? You know, would you have wooed me? Would you have pursued me for a relationship? And he struggles with it. You think not? He is realizing how she's feeling. I would gladly think otherwise if I could. Yeah, that modal auxiliary verb there, could. If I could, I would. As in, she has no other choice. It's so patently obvious that he has moved on, he's changed and become a different person, that it's not compatible anymore, that she actually doesn't have the option anymore. I would if I could. It talks about here, he weighs everything by gain. Everything is kind of a win or lose. It's never a risk. He's only going to, now he would only pursue someone if he knew it was a certainty that he would succeed. Yeah? But obviously that isn't the way life works. Risks have to be taken. People are going to be rejected. People are going to fall down at hurdles. And Scrooge doesn't seem to want to accept that, I think is the way to look at it. I do, and I release you with the full heart for the love of him you once were. He has changed. Now, if he's changed at this point, he can change again. He can change back. He can change back to someone full-hearted, someone kind, etc. Okay? But we're seeing that this is one of the biggest blows he's had in his past. This has really affected him. That he had the chance of love, and he's blown it. Now we see kind of a reference, an intratextual reference here, where in Stave I, he asks Fred, why would you fall in love? What would you do to fall in love? What a stupid thing to do. What are you doing? And we're understanding maybe why he feels that way. He's been so scarred by love that he dare not feel it anymore. Now we see some kind of some foreshadowing here, and again dramatic irony. She foreshadows how he feels in Stave I. You may, the memory of what is past, half makes me hope you will have pain in this. So you may have pain in this, a very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the recollection of it gladly as an unprofitable dream from which it happened well that you awoke. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. That is a really, really key little piece of dialogue there. So she recognizes that you may have pain from this, from kind of our breakup, but it'll only be brief, and you'll dismiss the recollection of it as an unprofitable dream. As in, there was nothing to gain from it, there was nothing monetary, there was nothing kind of successful that could come from it, because, again, he was too fearful of the world. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. He's not. He's absolutely not. And we know that. She left him and they parted. Think about the subject and the object there. Yeah? She left him. That she is the subject now. She's taken the importance and he just kind of, he doesn't have any control over it because he's being controlled by the subject of that syntax. It's shown in such a simplistic way that even though we can kind of, we can infer from all of this what's just happened, Dickens still wants to tell us in a plain way so we understand. Yeah? So, we're seeing a new juxtaposition here between love and a lack of love. Or a love for the wrong thing, maybe. You could argue he feels love for money, which is what she said. You replaced me, you've got a new idol. It's a golden one. Now, after this, we move on. And the ghost tells him there is one shadow more. There's one more thing from the past you need to see. No more. I don't wish to see it. Show me no more. The relentless ghost pinioned him in both his arms and forced him to observe what happened next. Yeah? Just like he had no control over the relationship ending, he's got no control of seeing what his actions in that relationship have caused. We see a whole description of Belle, who is the name of the girl, as we're going to find out in a second. She is much older now, and she's had a child. Yeah? So now a comely matron sitting opposite her daughter. So he sees the child and thinks, oh, that's Belle. And then he looks and he realizes, no, that's the daughter of Belle. Belle is the older woman now. So we basically see this family just having fun. He's just observing this family having fun. It's a perfectly tumultuous, that oxymoronic phrase there. They're all conducting themselves as if they're 40 children. It's uproarious, but no one seemed to care. The mother joined in. She's enjoying it very much. He's just observing this really happy family, basically. Now, Dickens goes a bit meta here. What would I not have given to be one of them? And, he's reminding us, just like he did before, that he's on our shoulder. He's kind of telling us the story. Now, this kind of whole bit is really, really, really well described. It's a cracking bit of description, so definitely get a lot of them down as notes. So someone arrives, and we basically learn that it's the father of the children. Scrooge looked on more attentively than ever when the master of the house, having his daughter leaning fondly on him, sat down with her and her mother at his own fireside. Now, gets even worse of Scrooge. Belle, said the husband, turning to his wife with a smile. I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon. Who was it? Guess. How can I? Don't I know? And then in the same breath, laughing, as he laughed, Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shut up and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon the point of death, I hear, and there he sat alone, quite alone in the world, I do believe. That is a gut-punching realization. That 7 years ago, as Marley was about to die, Scrooge was sat in the office still doing work, and the husband of the person that he was in love with as a younger man walks by his window, knows who he is, knows his situation, and looked in and just saw him and felt pity. Yeah? Not a nice feeling at all. Absolutely gut-wrenching for Scrooge. And we see that. It says, he replies in a broken voice, remove me from this place. And he says, I cannot bear it. Yeah, it is so painful for him emotionally, and it's almost as if the emotion is becoming physical. Yeah? If you've ever felt kind of so happy that it becomes physical, or so sad that it becomes physical, you kind of have physical reactions to the emotions you're feeling. The more extreme of that, that's what he's feeling right now. Now, the last little bit here, look. He looks at the ghost, and he notices that in the same way, do you remember it before? We saw that the ghost was kind of ever changing. Sometimes it had 20 arms, and then it went to 1, and then it went to no arms, and then it had 1 head, and then 6 heads. And, it's constantly adapting and changing this kind of figure. And he looks upon it again, and he sees that the face were all fragments of the faces he'd shown him. Yeah? that he kind of looks at the face and he sees, you know, the eye of Belle and the mouth of young Scrooge, and kind of it's all kind of molded into one. That this thing symbolizes his past, and it's summing it up for him. Yeah, look at all these things we've looked at, and don't just focus on the last one. Remember all these different things that we've looked at during this kind of journey that we've been going on. Now, at this point, again, Scrooge can take it no longer. You know, leave me, take me back, haunt me no longer. Now, bear in mind, this is a very, very, very powerful thing. If it wanted to show him more, it would. But at this point, there's no visible resistance from the ghost. Yeah? If it wanted to stop what he's about to do, it would. So Scrooge, what he does basically is he gets that kind of cap, you know, the thing we talked about earlier that extinguishes flame, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon its head. The spirit dropped beneath it, so that the extinguisher covered its whole form, but though Scrooge pressed it down with all his force, he could not hide the light. Yeah? Think about that metaphor there, that kind of the symbol of him trying to repress his memories, but the light still shines through. Yeah, you can still see kind of elements of the light, and it's still present in the room. It streamed from under it in an unbroken flood upon the ground. Okay? So, his voice, broken. The light is not broken. Yeah? Now, finally, it just ends with, again, him kind of becoming drowsy and sleepy. And he gives the kind of cap a parting squeeze, and then his hands relax, and he falls into a heavy sleep again. And obviously we know it's time for ghost number 3. As in, like, there are 4 ghosts in the entire thing, Marley, and then 3 ghosts. Cool. So, got any questions, let me know. And in the meantime, I'll see you soon. Bye.